back to the channel. This video is actually going to be about a movie that was only in select theaters, a movie that I wanted to see really bad, that I didn't get to see in theaters, but is finally on Hulu. So this is what we're going to talk about. And the movie is The Ugly Stepsister. This movie is a Norwegian body horror movie with a twist on Cinderella from the stepsister's POV, Elvira. As the two families merge, Elvira becomes enthralled and jealous of Cinderella. Her actual name at the beginning is Agnes, and makes a lot of gruesome decisions to alter her body. I know. So if you love the Brothers Grimm version of Cinderella, this is definitely going to be a movie for you. If you like body horror, this is definitely the movie for you. If you do not, I apologize, but it's about to get real gory over here. I'm not going to be like in detail, like exactly what happens per se, because I don't want to give it away. But if you like body horror, if you can stomach it, if you really love just like an indie style type of foreign like body horror movie, this is definitely going to be a movie for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. So technically the first thing I want to talk about is the order of the body horror. So I'm not going to like gross you guys out. We're going to keep it very fast paced. But what I did want to point out when I was watching it, it starts off very small at the beginning and it gets to the most intense scene. I like that progression because at first it seems like it's just like minimal changes. Like Elvira has like a bump on her nose, and so her mom approves of her getting that bump fixed, and then it's getting a tapeworm egg. It seems small, right? Yeah. Whatever you're picturing, triple that. Actually, you know, 5 times that, to be quite honest. And then she gets eyelashes added. Yeah. You're thinking like, oh, it's just a little, you know, like process. Maybe you're probably thinking like it's the more modern version, or maybe it's like, you know, like lash extensions, or like, you know, you get the little thing, like the magnetic ones, and you just do like a little woo and it just like attaches. No. Like I said, this is body horror. And after that, we move on to the most extreme ones, which if you are familiar with the Brothers Grimm, then you are familiar with toes and heels being cut off. You know that part of the story that is added in this, like later on in the movie, with later towards after the ball. Yeah, that plus the final ultimate body horror situation that's going on. And throughout the course of the movie, though, you do see a lot of changes to Elvira's body because of the tapeworm, like losing her hair, her, I think it's very monstrous appetite, because she's already been an eater, but she wasn't like a big girl. But you know, this movie is set like in the 1800s, I believe it is. Obviously their version of body image is completely different, and obviously over the course of our entire existence as humans, it's completely changed several times over. So how she adjusts to this tapeworm egg and everything, it's very interesting and very crazy, like how her body reacts to this. I absolutely love that progression. Wild. I was sitting there watching it because I watched it twice. The first time I was like, I'm just gonna watch it all the way through, and then the second time I was like making notes and stuff like that, because I was like, I have to react to this movie. I love this movie. This is great. And literally my aunt was like sitting down next to me. She was watching something on Netflix on the TV while I was watching it on my iPad. Oh my god, I had to look away a few times, and that's mainly because I don't do very well with a lot of eye stuff. So there were some parts I had to look away, but other parts I was like, holy sh. It was mind-blowing. It was wild. I absolutely loved it. So moving on to another point I want to talk about, which is her obsession with the prince. Elvira has read this book that the prince has wrote, don't know how long ago, whatever. But she's so obsessed with him. She reads this book all the time. She knows his work like the back of her hand. And the prince doesn't live too far from Agnes whatsoever. Like literally. It obviously, because, you know, at this time people had houses and had a lot of land. It looks like it's far away, but it's not that far really. Like maybe it's like half a day trek to get to him. Like if you start in the morning, you get there by the afternoon type of thing. But he's like right there, like past the woods. Like it's not that far. and she just has this obsession with him. And because, you know, this is the story of Cinderella, the prince is looking for a bride, and she's like, I'm gonna marry him. And her mom is like, yes, you're gonna be the one to marry him. Yeah. This Elvira is deeply obsessed with him. But also with that obsession comes the next point, which is this huge jealousy she has towards Agnes. Agnes is Cinderella before they call her Cinderella because the name is coming from the cinders. Yeah, that's how they get the name Cinderella, if you didn't know that. But Agnes is very beautiful. Elvira is jealous about that. Agnes gets a lot of attention from other people when they're doing one of the dance scenes to perform for the prince. Agnes gets front and center while the dance instructor talks mad crap about Elvira's appearance and puts her in the back. And so Elvira has a lot of this negative attention and Agnes gets a lot of this positive attention. So Elvira is very much like very jealous about Agnes and her appearance and the attention that she gets. But the thing is, Agnes doesn't want this attention. Agnes is in love with the stable boy. She don't even want to marry the prince. She is doing this because her family ain't got no money. Like, she's just doing this because of that. So it's very interesting to see that this is the way the story goes, versus like the typical version where it's like, oh, at the ball, Cinderella's like, she's going there because it's her chance to find true love or whatever, and she falls in love with the prince. This story is completely different. She's like, I'm just doing it because I need money. My dad's dead, my mom's gone, and my stepmom is blowing all of our money, so I have nothing. So she's really just doing it for that. She's not doing it in the means for like love whatsoever. So it's very interesting, that side of the story. And also, you really just see how Elvira takes into account how other people interact with her and how her mom interacts with her versus how her mom treats Agnes, especially when she does become Cinderella. So her mom is very demeaning towards Agnes, and Elvira just gets a kick out of that because someone finally doesn't put Agnes on this pedestal. So it's very interesting to see. Moving on to another point, which is Elvira and her mom's relationship. Her mom is a mess. This lady, she marries Agnes's dad and blows all of his money. Doesn't even give him a proper burial. Like, it's, yeah, she's just spending this money on Elvira so she can marry the prince. So she's buying these expensive dresses and doing all these alterations so her daughter can marry the prince and they'll have money and wealth and power, blah, 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 type of thing. And it's so interesting because she's just blowing all of this money. And it's like, you had some money. Like, I understand Agnes's dad wasn't rich, but you really just blew everything. I'm like, what was the point? And so when Elvira is going down her spiral of being completely obsessed with the prince and wanting to alter her body several times over just to get his attention, her mom is aiding in that. Like, even in the scene where something on the lower half is being handled with, the mom does it on the other side. Yeah, her mom is literally helping her alter her body and damage herself to marry a prince. Which, by the way, by the time she marries the prince, in my mindset, I was just thinking, I was like, by the time she marries him, she gonna be dead. Like, what money you gonna have? Because he's gonna be a widow with all this mess that y'all doing. There is no way your daughter's coming back from this. Wild. And so it's just very interesting to see like how a mother will literally do anything to have money, even sacrifice her own daughter. That mom has no morals whatsoever. None. No morals, no ethics, no love for her daughters, nothing. She is a cold-hearted person. Moving on to Elvira and her sister's relationship. I forgot her sister's name. I think it gets mentioned like once or twice, but this story is mainly about Elvira and Agnes, to be quite honest. And Elvira and her sister don't really have much of a deep relationship. In other Cinderella stories, you see that they are like semi-close. One is more like in charge of the other type of thing. But in this version, they don't even have that. There's not even like a power dynamic really up until later on when Elvira starts to feel like really confident about herself. But even then, she's deteriorating from the inside. So it's very much so they just don't really have a relationship. It's very strained, and her sister doesn't really care for Mir. She doesn't care for the prince. She doesn't really have anything in particular that she's focusing on, but she is very much observant to the chaos that's going on in this house. And so later on, her sister really starts to see her sister sees Elvira like deteriorating. And so she ends up helping in the end. And she's pretty much just like, we have to get away. We have to get away from mom because she's doing this to you. So her sister ultimately is very much a neutral party. And also at this point in time, towards the end of the movie, she actually does stand up for her sister. But at first, she's very much just like, oh, I don't care for you anyway. And she doesn't care for Agnes either. So she's not really like on anyone's side specifically. She's just very much, I would say she is like the viewers, like us watching the movie, but being a character. That's what she's essentially there for. Now let's move on to the fashion. The fashion was very interesting, especially at the beginning, because Elvira is wearing dresses just like Agnes, but Agnes's are different. Obviously, Cinderella is associated with like baby blue, and over the course of Elvira on screen and Agnes on screen, you start to see Elvira start to wear dresses that have some baby blue in it. It could be just like a little piece of it. Maybe it'll be like the skirt. Over time, you start to see more of that blue. So you can kind of see that progression of her becoming even more obsessed and jealous over Agnes, to the point where she actually does end up getting a blue dress. And then when Agnes shows up to the ball in her blue dress, it's just like, oh yeah, this is not good whatsoever. Was Elvira's dress blue? I don't remember if it was fully blue, but you do see that progression in the fashion though over time of that baby blue being put on Elvira, just to symbolize that obsession and jealousy and wanting to be Agnes, really. Yeah. Moving on to another point, which is the societal and cultural pleasures. I don't remember writing that. I think it was mainly because of how the dance instructor, she kind of represents that societal pressure and the cultural norm to look a certain way, to act a certain way. So when Elvira doesn't adhere to that, she gets put in the back. She gets mocked. She gets attacked by grown adults. There's this other woman who is kind of like our fairy godmother-esque, who is the one that's helping Elvira do these changes. She's the one that gives her the tapeworm egg. She's the one that's really just administering all these very drastic changes to Elvira, being like, oh, you need to change this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's how you can become like the lead dancer, and that's how you can get the prince's attention. So it's very much like all of these adults are manipulating Elvira to uphold a certain standard, a certain aesthetic, a certain look that Elvira is very much vulnerable to changing herself into. She wasn't as confident at the beginning. She really, you can see like all the different like shots of Elvira looking at her appearance, her body, how she eats and all that kind of stuff. You can really just maybe you really see from those kind of shots that she struggles with self-esteem, self-worth. And so these adults are able to take those insecurities, manipulate her, control her, make her change her body to the point where she is literally killing herself from the inside. And the fact that her own sister, the only person that was more like nonchalant, is able to help her and save her. And then there's Agnes, who I don't think she necessarily cared for Elvira either. And it's not like she was demeaning Elvira for her appearance or anything like that. So Agnes wasn't doing anything out of spite or anything like that. I think she was just so used to the attention, and then with Elvira trying to get that attention, Agnes is just, she didn't know how to process it. And also with her dad being dead and deteriorating in the house without having a proper burial and having her stepmother just take over her entire life, I feel like Agnes just became very numb. So while Elvira is going through all of this, she just doesn't seem to care. There is a scene where Elvira is like looking for food after another surgery, and Agnes does help her out and does feed her. You can see that Agnes just looks at her and she's just, in my mind, she's thinking, oh my God, what the hell is happening? And also feeling pity for her too, I think. And yeah, just really all of those pressures to look a certain way, and how everybody just uses Elvira or just allows her to succumb to these changes. Yeah. And also the prince is a dick. Okay, this man is a monster. Like, even the first, seeing Elvira for the first time, he's like, ew, who's that, or whatever. He's over here shooting animals. He's giving slight psychopathic tendencies to me, to be quite honest. I mean, I get hunting is hunting, but his persona, the prince in general, he just gives a little bit of psychopathic behavior. That's just my opinion. And Elvira is just too enthralled with him to even care. But yeah. So just overall themes, I would just say, is just this emphasis on appearance, power, control, a lot of aspects of self-esteem, self-worth. A lot of those are like the major themes and aspects that come up in the movie. And I don't know if there was like an ultimate message, because obviously Cinderella technically has a message, but it's very fairy tale and, you know, made up. The Brothers Grimm version is, I feel like the Brothers Grimm version does have more of a theme of being like greed, and this obsession can lead to harm, like self-harm, and just a lot of like monstrous tendencies to gain some type of power, prestige, money, love type of thing. But in this movie, I feel like maybe the message isn't more so like leaning towards the fact that it's based off of Cinderella, but more so on the fact of like learning to put yourself first and your health when it comes to just life in general, not just on love, not just on pleasing your mother, not just on trying to gain any financial stability or whatever like that. It's just really just focusing on self-worth, self-esteem within just life in general, and navigating, especially during that time, a time where your women are told how to act, how to dress, how to be like this, how to appeal to a man. This man is clearly crazy, but still it's like, it doesn't matter. He's the prince. He has money, and everyone wants to marry the prince. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. If you like this video, be sure to like it. Check out the movie. It is over on Hulu. I highly recommend it. Please check it out and come back and let me know in the comments what do you think. Even if you're like, what the hell, Sierra, what did you make me watch? I'm fine with that too. And until next time, stay magical. Bye.